Hi, everybody. Today we're going to talk about what to consider before starting a Pokemon card business or a TCG business in general. A lot of this stuff also could be probably just applied to a business across the board. So, first, let me talk about who I am. I'm Brian from leatherjacketgames.com. My background is in finance. I have a degree in finance with an IT minor. I spent 10 years in management consulting, and I've started a number of different companies up over the years to varying amounts of success, including a couple projects I'm working on currently, one being an Airbnb project, and also I've worked with other startups in a consulting role. So right now, I decided recently to take the plunge and start a Pokemon card business or a TCG business in general. We're dealing in Magic cards, Lorcana, Pokemon, Star Wars Unlimited, and also Yu-Gi-Oh! Right now. And right now, we just started up last month. So we've been in business for basically a month now since the website's been live, and we are now a four-figure Pokemon business. So very small, but I'm pretty excited about the success we've seen thus far. So let's talk about starting up a Pokemon card business. What should you consider before you start a business? And I'll talk about things that I considered before starting up my own business in this space. So, really, at least what I was taught in business school, before you invest in anything, before you start a business, you should really look at the economic conditions overall. It's at least something you should take into consideration. So, how is the economy doing as a whole? In addition to the overall economy, how is the industry doing? And then what are you able to bring to the table? Right now, I looked at it and I think the economy is strong. There are a lot of factors that say we have a strong economy, great job growth, low unemployment, real wages are going up. So, what that means, at least for my Pokemon business, is that if real wages are going up, people are going to have more discretionary spending. If people have more discretionary spending, they're going to be able to spend their money on things like Pokemon cards. If households, regular everyday households, don't have a discretionary budget, they're probably going to be cutting their costs for things like Pokemon cards, gifts for the kids. Collectors are going to scale back, whatnot. In terms of the industry, it seems like at least Pokemon is booming. It seems like we're in a really great time right now in terms of the industry for Pokemon cards. There's a lot of play happening out there. There's a lot of players. There's a lot of investors. There's collectors. Overall, I feel like the industry is going through a bit of a boom right now. Also, big plus for Pokemon cards is it applies to all ages. It's amazing. I did an event the other day, a trunk or treat, and it just is amazing to see that Pokemon spans across all ages. The kids we're like, hey, raise your hand. Who likes Pokemon cards? And the kids are just dying for it. We're handing out the trick or trade packs. And then it's funny how many parents, too, are just like, oh, I like Pokemon. Can I get a pack? And I've had a number of people too come up to me and they're like, hey, you sell some of the original base sets, some of the greatest hits from back in the day. And it seems like there's a lot of enthusiasm out there for Pokemon. And then also, you need to consider what you are going to bring to the table. I've been toying around with this idea of getting into the gaming space for a while. I actually tried to start my own trading card game, tried to develop my own trading card game, got a bit in. I probably got in over my head there. I'm still working on it, but it's not a priority for me now. But It's a lot to chew when it comes to designing your own TCG. So I've been trying to get into the space for a while, and I never would have gotten into this space essentially if I didn't have some sort of edge. Because if you're deciding to start a Pokemon business, it's quite competitive. You know, the barrier to entry is very low, and it doesn't take a lot of dollars ultimately to start selling Pokemon cards. You could buy a booster box and sell off the packs individually. You could just buy one booster box and sell the whole booster box and flip it. You can buy individual cards and essentially flip those cards, buy them for 75%, flip them for full market value. So there's a lot of different ways you can get in and a lot of competition out there, especially online, which is where I started my business. Online, you've got TCG Player to compete with, you have eBay to compete with, and there's a lot of people, I guess, getting a lot of product for very cheap. They may have distributors. I don't have direct connections to a distributor, but hopefully I'll be able to establish some sales and then eventually get a distributor. So you have to think about what you bring to the table. So me in particular, at least I have an IT background, so whipping up a website is not that difficult for me. It's pretty easy these days in general. I just started my website on Wix, but what I plan to bring to the table is a loyalty program game. So, me always having wanted to be a game developer of some sort, I'm looking essentially to create a game. It will initially be probably like a loot box situation, and then I'll enhance it over time to maybe include some aspects of Pathfinder slash Dungeons and Dragons, so that you can basically spend loyalty points. So as you build up loyalty points buying from my store, you'll be able to spend those loyalty points to get, let's say, initially a pack, a couple of packs, or you can hit the jackpot and get 10 packs. And eventually, as I build up a inventory of singles, I will be able to offer rare cards and things like that as part of these loot boxes. So when I had that idea, essentially, I'm like, this is a way that I can get in. But initially, I just wanted to dive in, start to get some sales, and see where that takes me. And we're working on the game now that we have the website up. So you have to, when you're getting into this competitive of an industry, you have to create an edge for yourself, whether that is putting out, becoming a brand, putting out social media, becoming a presence, becoming a trusted source of Pokemon cards, becoming an expert and being able to offer investing advice, collecting advice, talking about the best decks and deck strategy. You have to bring something to the table so that people feel comfortable with you and are going to be willing to buy from you because you're offering them some sort of other value. And that's also what some of these YouTube videos that I'm going to be putting up are, hopefully, my take. Not that I'm the only one doing this by any means. Shout out to PokeNE, Brian at PokeNE.com, another Brian, of course. He was a big inspiration for me. I love watching his stuff, and he's right about a lot of things, and I thought I would bring my own take to it with my own experiences and whatnot. So other things to consider, your risk tolerance. So how much are you going to be investing in this business? My risk tolerance is, I would say, I don't know, relatively low. I'd like to think it was relatively low, but I don't know. Some compared to some people, my risk tolerance for stuff is maybe higher because I was involved in crypto for a while, doing crypto trading and things like that. So I think within the broad spectrum of the population, even mentioning crypto, you're already on a higher risk tier about what you're willing to risk. For this business, I have a decent amount of money invested in different things. And for this business, I was looking to start small or smaller and see how it goes. So my risk tolerance, at least for this business, I think is lower. And the great thing about starting a TCG business, a Pokemon card business, whatever it is you want to do, is that you can get in for relatively low cost as long as you are willing to grow slowly. Now, this is a low margin business as far as I can tell. Things are very competitive. Lots of TCG shops out there online are very competitive with price. So it's a relatively low margin business. So you have to be willing, if you're going to get in, you're going to buy a booster box of something and sell it off in packs, or just flip that booster box. You get a good deal on it, whatever it is. You got to be willing to wait to get that money, take that money back, and then buy a little bit more. And obviously, you can get in. A booster box only costs $$10, $125. And based on the market, you could buy a booster box earlier. I wish for Star Wars Unlimited that I had just kept my original base set and didn't open it up. For Star Wars Unlimited, I got a really good price early on, and then those booster boxes just kept going up and up because they did not print enough. So you can look to buy some, hold on to it for a little bit, watch the price go up, flip it, take that money, put it into some more product. You can get in for very low cost. Now, I'm putting in a decent amount so far. I'm fortunate enough to have worked for many, many years and built up a savings and did well in crypto, and did well in my other investments. And so I have some money to play with. And so I'm able to put in 10 grand in now into the business. That's obviously not where everybody may be able to start. So figure out what your budget is going to be, what you're willing to just completely lose. This is what I always did, at least for crypto, is like, hey, what would I be completely willing to just see disappear? That's, I feel like, the best way to think about it. Now, in reality, are you going to lose everything on buying some Pokemon cards? Probably not. They hold up their value decently well. Maybe you'll take a loss. I'm sure worst comes to worst, you would have to offload some product for cheaper than market rates. And you'd lose, I don't know, 10%, 20% of your money. That might be worst case scenario. Unless you got in on something that was really bubbling. I don't know, 151 reprinted like 20 times or something, and it just tanked the value, and you bought at the absolute height. Maybe you'd lose more then. But you're actually holding on to a product that has some value, unlike, at least in the early days of crypto, that stuff could have gone to zero easily. So what's your risk tolerance? So figure out how much you're willing to potentially lose, and you can invest that into your Pokemon business or TCG business. I want to be inclusive here. So Magic the Gathering, if that's your thing, by all means. Lorcana, if that's your thing, by all means. So other things to think about before starting a business. What's your financial stability? Are you working a full-time job? Are you going to continue that full-time job and take this on part-time after hours? Or are you going to dive in and go straight to full-time? Now, you really have to look at your financial situation to determine what is best for you. In my case, like I said, I worked for years and years and years building up sort of a war chest. I made some good investments. I did very well for myself. And then I was able to venture off on my own and try out a number of different businesses. My TCG that I was trying to develop, that's on hold. So I wouldn't consider that successful. But it was fun. I learned a lot of things doing it. I have an Airbnb project in the works currently. and that is, under construction. So we'll see how that goes in the future. But both me and my wife are working on that, and I think it'll be very successful. And now I'm working on, I did some consulting myself, and I was decently successful in that business. And then now I'm working on this Pokemon business. So luckily, my wife, very generous to allow me the time and the space to start these different ventures. And she has a full time job, and she's able to pay the bills and whatnot. Not that I don't contribute to that stuff, but because I do have money from my investments. But if everything were to fall apart for me, we would be okay. The question for you is, would you be okay? Do you have a lifeline? Or do you need to continue your full time job and do this on the side and start up slowly? Now, I will say, having tried to do things, at least in the past for me, I never had a 9 to 5. My work day a lot of the time could be me getting up at 5 a.m. in the morning, commuting an hour and a half to go to a client, getting at the client at 7 a.m., and then sometimes working until 9 p.m. at night, leaving, going home, eating dinner, maybe watching a show, and going to bed, rinse and repeat. So I had basically no time to ever start up something kind of on the side besides doing some investments here and there, but certainly nothing like starting a business. I could never have done that on the side. So I had to, at the point once I had that realization that my dreams of owning a business, that it would never materialize unless I left my job, then I ripped the band-aid off, and that's essentially what I did. I used to love what I did, which was management consulting, mostly working with building out financial systems for companies. And I enjoyed that work, but I just always had this itch that needed to be scratched because I love everything that goes into managing a business. I love pouring through the finances of it. I love setting up new systems. I love that startup feel. So what is good for me certainly may not be good for you. So I had to leave my job and start working on my businesses full time. Luckily, I was in a financial situation where I could do that. Certainly not everybody is going to be in that financial situation. So if you are looking to start your own business, you need to figure out how to make it work with your current job. And that's going to require quite a bit of dedication, because you're starting a business is tough. It requires a lot of work. You need to be passionate about it. And it's important that if you're thinking about, for some reason, leaving your job and starting up a business, it might be better to not leave your job, try to do it part-time at nights and on weekends to see if it's going to be good for you, or if you're passionate enough about it that you will be able to stick with it, because it's going to be hard and you need to be passionate about it. A lot of people get confused with, they really just don't like their job and they really want something different, and so they think that starting up a business is a good way to go. And I can't say that that doesn't work out for I would say the vast majority of people that does not work out. And statistics would show that most businesses starting up, they fail. And one of those reasons certainly would be, hey, if you're not satisfied with your job and you think that, oh, wouldn't it be much better if I was my own boss and I'm going to start up this Pokemon card business. But if you're not passionate about gaming, if you're not passionate about TCGs, if you're not passionate about, you could be passionate about those things, but you may not be passionate about managing a business, creating Excel sheets and working out managing your inventory and packing boxes and managing the finances. Marketing is a tough one for some people. You need to be able to get out in front of people, do events, put yourself out there. And if you're the type of person who may shy away from those things, then maybe this isn't for you. But you have to think carefully about that before you go leaving your job. And the best way to do it is obviously do a test run. Start doing it part time. If you have the time, of course, if you've got that 9 to 5 and you have some time, nights and weekends, to start up your own Pokemon card or TCG business, try it that way and see how you like it. And if you like it, fantastic. Try to grow the business, do what you can from a part-time perspective until eventually you get to a standpoint of revenue that it doesn't make sense. Maybe you're making more money in the TCG business than you're making at your job, or it doesn't make sense. You can't continue to grow the business until you cut down your hours at work or leave your job. But once again, don't do that all willy-nilly. Make sure that you've got the financial stability so that if something goes wrong, you're not going to be in a place where you can't recover. Hey everybody, thanks for watching. This video ran a little bit long, so stay tuned for part 2. And if you like this content, like and subscribe down below. And check out leatherjacketgames.com and buy yourself some cards.